Is it working?
Looks like it.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
Is that the whole line? I thought it was just, is it safe?
Is it secret? No,
But-
it's, is it secret? Is it safe?
And they never really explain what the hell that means in the movie, do they?
Is it secret or is it safe?
Yeah.
What do you
Like,
mean?
because they're like
It's
they're
the one
interrogating the wrong person. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Marathon Man.
I'm talking about the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. What do you... When Gandalf goes, is it secret? Is it safe?
Oh, I don't remember that.
You're talking about Marathon Man?
I'm talking about Marathon Man.
Is it safe?
Is it safe?
I haven't seen it yet, so
Oh shit.
I tried to watch. I think I got 5 minutes in and I had to turn it off because I was bored or something. But I did want to watch it. I just wasn't in the mood for it.
Well, maybe one day you can get yourself a copy and we'll watch it for this.
Maybe.
It's a decent movie. It's like one of those classic thrillers.
Yeah.
It's all right. Isn't that a little heavy on the whiskey?
Well, you got to start sometime.
Because you didn't even pour it in a glass. You just opened the bottle.
Let's see if I can get the sound of this.
Sounds like pee.
I was about to say. That is not me peeing. That is the sound of what?
Maker's Mark whiskey.
Ugh. Yep. Well, one of us has to drink at some point.
Do you have any beer in the fridge?
Oh, that's a lot more than I planned to pour.
That's like a double.
I don't think there's any beer in the fridge. I think we drank that all.
Oh.
I think you have a problem. No, there is.
What is it? If it's an IPA, you can just put it down the drain.
Don't worry about it.
Uh-oh. Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Which apparently tastes like
7.2% alcohol.
battery fuel. Well,
You're not going to drink this?
no.
Where does this come from?
There's 3 in there. I don't know. It randomly showed up in my fridge one day. I think Josh brought it.
Oh. This
So.
seems like a Josh beer.
Yeah, except he had like half of one and was like, ugh.
This is awful.
No, I take that back. It's actually Mr. Grizzly Bear Mike himself
Ah.
brought it over. Thanks, Mike. I know you're probably listening to this.
It also seems like one of his beers.
Except that he didn't drink any of them either.
Jesus.
So
Oh.
he's a natty ice guy.
This is going to be a sipper for me. This will last through the whole movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can't chug this.
Maybe I should have had that instead. So,
Oh. Oh.
what are we watching today?
About time.
Well, yeah, it is about time to watch something. What are we watching?
About time.
Mark, I just asked you, what are we watching?
The movie is called About Time.
Oh my god.
From the director of Love Actually, I guess.
And
Which I've
4
never
Weddings
seen.
and a Funeral, I believe, right?
I did like that movie.
Yeah. Love Actually, despite its title, is a pretty great movie, actually. And, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that besides most people, like, you say that movie and people just automatically tune you out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you want to watch this? Kind of like this. About Time has been up for the running to watch the last, like, 4 shows.
Yeah. And I
it
keep
only
going
finally-
like, well, I don't know. We'll do something else this time.
Tonight I had to kind of fight for it just because I felt like we kind of needed something people might have heard of
Something a little more modern.
that people maybe haven't seen yet. And I personally, I love this movie. I think it's a great movie.
It's about time travel. Yes.
I won't say anything about it. What do you think it's about, Mark?
I think it's going to be Love Actually with time travel.
But you haven't seen Love Actually.
I haven't seen Love Actually.
Okay, let's start. What's Love Actually?
Wasn't that like many intertwining stories of people in relationships finding love, maybe falling out of it? It's a Christmas movie. I've seen the one scene, or at least I'm aware of the scene with the guy from Walking Dead holding up the cards outside the door. I don't even know what the cards say.
Which is funny because Andrew Lincoln, yeah. I thought that I didn't realize he was in the movie until about a week ago. And I saw a picture and I was like, and it suddenly clicked. I was like, of course it's that guy. He just plays such a different character in that movie. I can't remember. I seem to remember he had some sort of speech impediment, or I'd hate to go back and watch Love Actually and see that he's actually a normal person.
acting.
But he seems mildly brain damaged in the movie, if I remember, which he's probably not. Maybe it was just his face.
He just looks retarded.
But I love Walking Dead. Sorry, Andrew Lincoln. I actually think you're a phenomenal actor. Anyway.
No one can yell Carl's name like he can.
So you think it's Love Actually with time travel?
Yeah.
Basically?
I mean, based on the cover, it looks like any other brightly lit romantic comedy. But this one is about time travel. I know it has Domhnall Gleeson in it.
Yep.
Domhnall. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
That's pretty much all you know.
Yeah, and I've liked him in other stuff. He was in Ex Machina.
Yeah.
He was in an episode of Black Mirror. He was in Star Wars 7.
Yeah, he's a member of the, what do they call it? Not the Resistance, but the
First Order.
The First Order.
Yeah, he's like the Hitler of the First Order.
Right. There's always one. It only takes one.
That's weird because it's just like one
and he's
guy.
got orange hair too, so
Ginger's trying to take over the galaxy.
Seriously.
Enough. Should we pop this movie in?
I mean, you don't want to drink some more with me? I mean,
by
by the time they hear us again, we might just be totally wasted.
7.2% alcohol. That's like drinking 3 beers in one.
Okay, wait. Okay. I want you to score this movie out of 10 before you see it.
Before I see it?
Yeah. What's your
5.5.
premonition? 5.5 out of 10.
Let's say 55 out of 100.
So 5.5 out of 10.
0.55 out of 1.
Wow, you don't expect to like it at all then?
No, that's the top of the bell curve.
Wait, let's do another shot first.
Oh.
Get your arrogant bastard.
It can't take a shot.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It
doesn't really make a good sound
to
here.
A 5.5 out of
mic.
10 movie.
There we go.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you want?
I'm James's son.
Who?
James Lake.
What about him?
He said you had a room.
Go in there and wait. Quietly. I mean it. Don't make a sound. Or I'll kill you. I was actually having the first good idea I've had for a decade when you rang on the doorbell. But now it's gone. You little shit. How's your dad? Weird cock, I always thought. Something weird about him.
Really?
Yeah, I never really liked him, actually. Your mum still looked like Andy Warhol.
What?
That, by the way, is my wife.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you wouldn't like her at first. Sarcastic cow. But eventually you'd realise that she's the best human being in the world. Which is why she left me, of course. Here you go. Try not to make too much noise, particularly when having sex.
No chance of that.
Oh, Christ, 2 losers in one house. That is my daughter.
Huh.
Have sex with her if you like. Apparently everyone else has.
All right. Well, I mean, I almost finished my glass.
I finished my beer.
You did?
Yep. Looks like I'm staying the night.
Are you an arrogant bastard now?
Well, you're half right.
Disgusting. So one thing I feel like the last, what is this? Our 8th, 9th? This might be our 9th.
I think 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Officially.
One thing we never really talked about was if people are interested at all in seeing these movies, maybe they shouldn't listen to the second half, considering we're very spoilerific, I guess.
Right. That's the fun.
And this might be the most mainstream movie we've seen so far, because Monsters was probably the next mainstream.
Yeah, and even that was like a
and that was like
thing.
People had heard of it, but they didn't know exactly.
It was only a
necessarily
hit because it only cost $3 to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that's just a forewarning for anybody out there. So
that being said, About Time is a really good movie. It is more than what the DVD cover would suggest, which has Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson just giggling in the rain like they're at a wedding,
right,
which
it's
is their wedding.
totally a rom-com look. Like it's
Yeah, it looks
I mean,
like
that's
anything
why
else out there.
I didn't see it, in theater. I was like, oh, okay, another
Another one of these.
rom-com. I don't even know that I necessarily knew it was about time travel. Until they might have mentioned it in the trailer. They probably did.
I'm sure they did. That's the whole concept of the movie.
Yeah.
But I haven't
I'm
seen
sure
the trailer,
if people
so I
have
don't know.
listened to the trailer, then before this
right.
part of the
After
thing,
you cut
maybe.
it all together.
Unless I, who knows?
Unless
Anyway,
you fuck it up.
so okay, so you said 5.5. Sorry, 55% out of 10, 100.
Yeah.
What?
I
what's
would probably give this an 85.
85.
8.5.
It's kind of how I feel about it now. It's a really long movie.
It's 2 hours, right?
It feels a little longer.
They go through a lot. I mean,
they
I was
do go
never
through a lot.
bored, but it does feel like they cover a lot of ground, even though they could have covered so much more.
Now I'm curious if you kind of, first time I saw it, I was actually, you expect all the typical cliche things to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and you expect them to kind of, you feel like you can predict what's going to happen, and in a way, halfway
things-
through you said, oh, somebody's going to get brain cancer and die.
Yeah, something
Well-
you can't fix with time travel.
Right, something you can't fix with time travel, which kind of happens, yeah.
Well, because I just need to call back to the original time travel story, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, now I can't even say for sure if he wrote it this way or if it was just in the movie. The time traveler's wife in the story gets hit by a carriage, and he goes, okay, I gotta make this time machine to go back in time to save my wife, but no matter what he does, whenever he goes back, she dies of something else.
So
He
what, it's
can't
like
stop
Final Destination.
It's like Final Destination. Death has a plan. And
Time travel has a plan for you.
yeah, the message of the
Wait,
time
are
machine
you-
is like you can't fix everything.
That was H.G. Wells' story? No. I thought H.G. Wells' story, the time machine, was about he gets his time machine, he goes into the future.
But at first, he tries to go into the past.
Oh, it's been
And
so
I-
long since I've seen it.
God, the only thing popping in my mind right now is the Guy Pearce version, which isn't a very good movie.
But I don't remember that theme of him trying to save someone and she always dies.
Yeah, that's why
I
he
remember that
eventually
happening in something else.
that's why he eventually decides to go into the future instead. Like, well, I can't fix the past, so I'll see what the future has in store for the world.
Oh, it's been a long time. Maybe we'll do that.
I believe
sometime
like
in the
the
future.
classic '60s time machine movie is the same way. I could be wrong.
I
No
almost bought
research.
the other day. I almost bought Time After Time for this.
Oh, that's a great one. You should do
And
that.
I haven't seen that one yet, so
That's a good one.
at some point we'll do that in the future.
Starring Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells.
Apparently, I need to watch the original Time Machine again because even though it's one of my favorites and I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times, I can't even remember it.
That's what worries me. I'm worried I'm thinking of the Guy Pearce version, which would really just be bad.
It's possible.
That would be a bad sign for me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, back to this lovely film. When I saw it, like I said, I was kind of surprised about its simplicity. I guess that's a good way to put it. Like, you expect a lot of things, like, you expect the curveballs of a script, which are, there's the chance that he has to sleep with his first love,
Yeah.
played by Margot Robbie, which, so
Makes a lot of
immediately
sense.
we know our character's dumb because he doesn't.
Because he doesn't. He doesn't. It's like you come at this from a sort of the greedy perspective, like me, and you go, okay, the rules of his time travel is he can sort of like step back to any point in his previous life and make new decisions that will affect his up to his present. He can't go to the future, only to his
Right.
present.
So he
So
always
he
could
could-
just do it
He
and go
could
back.
he could rob a bank as long as he doesn't get killed in the process,
Yeah.
and then just kind of clench his fists in a dark closet, which is how he does it, and pop back before he made that decision, and everything's fine. So he could screw Margot Robbie's brains out, And no one would ever know.
And I'm sure he did in a draft of the script at some point.
I'm sure he did. But I'm sure they also made it a character thing. Like, if he does that, then he's just kind of a...
Oh, he's a bit of a
guy,
scumbag.
A scumbag who's taking advantage of his gift.
And you don't want him to either at that moment. You're like, but you got this beautiful girl, waiting at home for you, and...
I mean, Rachel McAdams is very easy on the eyes, but I still wanted him to give us Margot.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
Even if her name is Margot.
Margot. But, and that's, I guess, a lesser writer would have... That I feel like that's where in the script a lesser writer might have had that consummated. Mm-hmm. He has sex with Margot Robbie, goes back in time, and
maybe realizes it was a mistake.
He admits it to her, Rachel McAdams, anyway, that he did this, and then they deal with that for the last second half of the movie.
Right. It could be. This movie could be about so many things because it covers this guy's entire young adult life,
or him doing things like robbing banks and everything. They don't do any of that. Like they really don't give him. They didn't. They basically showed someone living their life, and made it funny and watchable, and mundane. In its in the way that it's mundane.
Is that a word?
That's what I was looking for. But it's enjoyable to watch, for some reason.
It's really weird. Like a lot of the very British things that happen in this movie, and all of the typical things like the boyfriend meeting the girlfriend's parents for the first time. Like that scene has happened in a lot of movies and TV shows before, but it's still entertaining here. It's still engaging, and It must be something about the performances. There's something really heartfelt about everything, and you're on these people's side.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, my parents are showing up." Well, when are they showing up? Right now. What do you mean right now? Like they're coming up the stairs right now. Put pants on. No, not those pants. Some other kind of pants. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Oh, and how long have we been together? Do they know I exist? Maybe.
That scene is one of the times earlier in the movie when I went, what the fuck is he so worried about? He can travel through time.
He can just go back.
He could have an awkward meet the parents scene and then jump back 15 minutes and everything will be peachy. He has no reason to have any problems or any anxiety in his life because he can just kind of ride the wave and then reset and do it right. But again, that's a different kind of movie, and that's not what they're trying to make it about.
He could technically live as many lives as he wants to until he's accidentally hit by a car or something he's not expecting.
Right.
Which would be really the only way he would die.
This form of time travel is essentially immortality.
Yeah. He'd just have to go back and erase several things. So, for the people who haven't seen it, basically on his, 21st birthday?
21st birthday, yes.
The main character played by Domhnall Gleeson, is told by his father, Bill Nighy. The man in our family can travel through time. Can travel back in time.
Yeah.
So go back anywhere you have been in time.
And then, he doesn't specify this, but we learn through experimentation, also after traveling back in time, kind of snap back to the present with all of the ramifications of what you just did in the past.
Yeah, so there is that little asterisk. Yeah, you can technically go back, and that's kind of going forward, so it is a bit of a cheat.
But only up to where you came from originally, up to that present moment.
And so he first spends his first summer after learning that his sister has a friend who just happens to be Margot Robbie, who stays with the family for the summer. And all summer he's trying to work his magic on her, and he waits to the last day to be like, "So
what are
I
the
love
chances
you.
Of a guy like you and a girl like me being together?"
And she plays it off very nicely. She's like, "Well, maybe, no, I gotta say no, but maybe if you would ask me on the first day,
or any time earlier, yeah,
then maybe." And so he goes, "Oh, okay." So he goes back in time.
Excuse me. Yeah, he steps in a
knocks
closet.
on her door early on and says same thing. She says, "Oh, why don't you ask me again on the last day?
And he kind of goes, fuck.
So he learns early on he can't really change people's minds about things.
You can't
I'm sure
force
he
people.
could if he really.
It would take a lot
on
of. He'd have to roll a 20 on charisma every time.
Yeah, right. And,
Do you roll for? Never mind.
I mean,
This is
yeah,
delving into more
it's a
geekery than I
different
intended.
podcast, Mark. But you know, he goes from that, and then he moves to London and gets a job as a lawyer. And,
Another moment when I went, why?
Yeah, why?
I mean,
why would
Jesus,
you want
why'd
to be a
you?
lawyer?
He spends some time complaining about the job and like his boss is an asshole. It's like you can do anything with your life, literally anything you can imagine, and he gets an office job.
I mean, I guess if he was, you know, if he did a case numerous times, eventually he would know it so well.
Yeah, well, they do mention in the movie, like, oh yeah, sometimes you think he's not going to win, but then he just kind of pulls something out at the last second. He pulls a Columbo every time.
But the guy he meets in... Well, no, I'm thinking it's not... He doesn't go on a date with... Oh, he goes on a date with his old buddy.
Yeah.
From school.
Fellow Ginger.
Yeah, fellow Ginger from school. And they go to this strange restaurant where you walk in and there's no lights. They sit you at a table with... I guess this is how it works. You go in and they sit you across the table from... Let's say if you're two men walk in there, they're going to seat two women across from you.
Yeah. Assuming that's
but you're in the dark, and so you can't see them, in theory.
And it's all about the conversation.
It's all about the conversation.
Getting to know each other.
Getting to know each other. And, of course, he's seated next to who becomes Rachel McAdams. And they have a great conversation. She's American. And kind of flirty and whatnot. And it goes great. He gets her number. But then he goes home, and he's moved in with his playwright uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's his uncle.
Yeah.
And his uncle's just like the most cynical, hates life, hates everyone, super snarky.
But he's brilliant. He's a
brilliant playwright. And of course, he's just premiered his play, and it was a disaster because the lead actor forgot his lines at the worst possible time. So Domhnall goes back in time and fixes that, but in the process...
Yeah, he helps the actor remember the lines by holding cue cards off
Right.
to the side, kind of like in Love Actually at the front door.
That movie you haven't seen.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to give it a chance because...
Because of this?
Because of this.
I mean, they have a similar sense of humor, but so did Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, which I liked.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, well, if I like the movies I've seen of this guy's, I should probably see the ones I haven't seen.
Yeah. But he in helping his uncle out and fixing the play, he ends up going so far back to have fixed it that he actually erased the date that he had with Rachel McAdams.
And he no longer has her phone number. No way to reach her.
Right. So
he has to get a little stalkery.
He has to get a little stalkery. At some point, for whatever reason, Mark even asked, like, what? Why are they talking about Kate Moss? Like,
yeah,
supermodel Kate Moss.
There's some sort of art gallery of pictures of Kate Moss, the model.
Well, one of the things in their first date that they had talked about was her obsession with Kate Moss.
Which, that'd be a red flag for me. End of date right there. Sorry, Rachel.
Which seems kind of funny. And the one thing about his movies, this director, is that all his movies kind of have these goofy Americans with very specific strange things about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Billy Bob Thornton plays basically George W. Bush in Love Actually.
Okay.
And he's the most stereotypical...
He's a real Billy Bob?
projection of what an American president would be. And so they have these American characters in his movies that are very like almost stereotypical. Like her parents show up and the first thing she says is they're very conservative. You know, don't talk about sex.
We never see that illustrated much, but yeah, that's what she said.
But it's just general thing. So I kind of wondered if the Kate Moss thing was some
just
weird,
one of those.
Maybe the British just assume that the Americans are obsessed with Kate Moss or something. I don't know.
The Yanks are all about that Kate Moss.
I love that Kate Moss. So, but Anyway, there's a Kate Moss gallery in town. He notices just on a whim, and so he goes to that hoping that he's going to see Rachel McAdams again because he's erased their date. And of course he sees her, but of course
she doesn't remember him.
He forgets in the moment that he hasn't really met her.
Yeah, he walks up and pokes her like a couple times in the back. It's really like, creepy. It's very
Mark
awkward.
were to go up to a girl in a restaurant,
thanks.
This is kind of how he'd introduce himself.
Great, I appreciate that.
Anyway, long story short,
I have a long-term girlfriend.
I mean, this movie basically from that point on, they end up together. And that's pretty much the whole movie. Like, from that point on, it doesn't really...
There's no conflict in their relationship like in most romantic comedies, right, where it's all like, oh, they came together, but now they're being driven apart by one of their, they're putting the career first or something like that.
And that's not really what the movie's about.
No, it's about this guy and how he's experiencing life and what he's learning about it.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's almost kind of refreshing that it's so... it's so basic in the sense that it's showing this guy just enjoying his life, and the most difficult part of them is them meeting to begin with.
Yeah, there's no antagonist.
Yeah, really none really. And not even time is really that much of an antagonist. Cause
it's a problem.
It's about accepting the passage of time.
Yeah, because it's one of these internal antagonists. Mm-hmm. It's man versus himself,
and he learns that. He can't go back past a certain point. Once they have children.
Once they have a kid, I would assume. Well, technically, it would be if he goes past the conception, then it's a different set of cells that go off and make a baby. Mm-hmm. But if they're just going by the birth and he never sees the birth, he won't have any. He won't know. He won't know the difference.
Yeah, because the one time he goes back before his first child is born, and changes some stuff.
He comes back
and they've got a different baby.
It's a boy.
It's a boy now, not a girl. And he goes, "What the hell?" And so he has a conversation with his dad, who told him about the whole time travel thing. And his father says, "Well, you can't go back because it's a different set of sperm."
Yeah.
So if you change just a little bit, just that little bit of difference is gonna change that. Who your baby is, whatever. So he learns if he wants to make changes, he needs to make them, prior to big things like that. So he can't ever go back. So once they have 1, 2, 3 kids, he's kind of cutting off those sections of his life, unless he wants to go back and totally fuck things up if he has a drunken bender or something, which of course he does not.
That would be awesome. The last scene of the movie, he's on his deathbed. He's like, "Can you just put me in a closet somewhere?" Boom. Jumps back to when he's 16 years old, does his whole life over again.
Well, that's what I was saying before. It's like, why not just live multiple lives?
Yeah.
Of course, you got to be... I'm sure he's exhausted. He's probably lived like 5 lives by the time he's lived 1.
Right. But I guess it's sort of like if you erase your life, you never meet up with Rachel McAdams, and you never have those kids, you're essentially killing your kids. They never happen. You
have to go through misery again and all that shit. Just being
people
alone.
dying, all that.
You gotta meet people again. That would get pretty frustrating after a while.
I was just thinking, this whole thing about like having a kid is a major milestone in your life, and it sort of means you don't get to redo anything before that point.
Right.
That's sort of like real life. When you have a kid, your life changes.
It's true.
I don't know this from personal
Your life
experience.
is over from the moment you have a child.
No more fun times. It's only, taking care of these kids now. But, I think if you were on your deathbed and you could find a way to just keep reliving that last day, you could basically live forever.
Yeah.
Which is something Bill Nighy...
especially if you have Alzheimer's and you don't remember anything anyway.
It's all going to be new. I haven't seen it. It's new to me. He uses his extra time to read books. He's way into books, and he's read everything twice, he says. That's one way to spend your time. If you have literally all the time in the world, why not?
Yeah.
Become very educated. Read all the classics. Watch every movie ever made.
What's funny is I guess you couldn't be an author, though.
You would eventually have to step forward.
Whatever you wrote, if you went back... it would just be unwritten. You'd remember it. you'd remember what you wrote, but it'd be unwritten. So you'd have to have such a good memory. Like if you were a writer, you couldn't just write a book in a day.
Well, say
by just going through that day again and again and again, because you would lose it.
Yeah, well, you have to do all your brainstorming and then come back to the present to actually write the book.
Right.
How else could we take advantage of this particular skill?
So you couldn't exactly be a writer. Obviously, you could read whatever the hell you wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, you could travel anywhere you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Well, as long as
until your plane crashes. Well, I guess if your plane is crashing, you could literally just hide somewhere. Try and make it in the bathroom.
They never say why it has to be in a closet or a wardrobe or something.
And they show at the end of the movie, he doesn't even go into a closet. He's just in a dark, unlit hallway. But there's still a light on the hallway. Yeah. And he's able to clench his fists and just imagine where. And once he's controlled it enough, he can do it wherever. But it's kind of like he's almost like a superhero in that sense, but he doesn't use it in any fantastical method or fashion.
He never saves anybody's life.
Probably it's actually more realistic in that sense. Like, how many people would actually bend the rules to the point that they would go out of their way? Because
this motherfucker could have stopped 9/11.
He could have, yeah, but if he's shot and shot to the point that he's incapacitated.
Just got to make a few phone calls. That's all it is.
If he's shot he can't get into a closet or wherever he needs to travel through time, he's still gonna, die.
Hey, if he's in a solitary cell for the rest of his life, that's a closet.
So he could still die to accident, which I guess that's again, he's not immortal, but he's immortal.
Not that kind of movie.
Yeah. How would you describe this movie in comparison to other, say, time travel movies? Because obviously, in relation to other rom-com movies, this is
It's very different because it's romantic and it's a comedy, but it's not a romantic comedy.
It's almost...
It's not part of that genre.
It's not really dark, but it's kind of dark humor.
It's got some dark humor, and it definitely hits on some dark topics.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like if you played this for a mainstream audience that's expecting something a little less British, I'm not sure. They'd probably enjoy it, but it may be a little too quirky. And I don't even know if I'd describe the movie as quirky. It's just kind of British. It's definitely not American quirky.
Right. It's a hard movie to convince someone else to watch. It's not a hard movie to recommend, but when they go, okay, what's so great about it? I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what to tell them that would make somebody go, oh, okay, I'll totally check that out.
Right.
Rachel McAdams, yeah.
Well, how long have I been trying to get us to watch this again?
Like a month, at least. Yeah, month and a half.
It's not something you go, oh yeah, hey, cool. I'll totally check that out right now.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason I was interested was because Domhnall Gleeson was in it.
And that's kind of why I wanted to do this particular movie, because as well known as it is, I feel like not many people have seen it.
Yeah, like I've heard of it.
Slipped under the radar.
And no one has ever said you should totally watch this movie before.
I get the feeling that probably in Great Britain this played really well and did pretty well in the box office. In America, I feel like it kind of came and went. I don't even remember a time when it was in the theater. I remember seeing the poster all over town.
Yeah,
But I don't know anybody who actually went to go see it in the theater.
Nope.
Not even the people I know who loved Love Actually. Strangely enough. So,
do you think people were maybe expecting another time traveler's wife? Where it was this sort of like domestic drama about some guy who was zipping all over time?
Or they didn't think it was a time travel movie at all, which I didn't. I just saw these two on the cover and I went, oh.
They should have given the poster a more science fiction feel. Not really, I'm just saying. If they wanted people to get that time travel as part of it, maybe Domhnall Gleeson running away from a shattering clock.
Yeah. But it's, for a movie as good as it is, it really didn't get that word of mouth did not spread very well.
No.
And I feel like it never will, because it kind of got lost in time, I guess. I don't remember when this even came out. Like what?
We're going to release this podcast and that's going to fix everything.
Oh my God, we can go back in time. all
No,
5 of our listeners. They're gonna spread the word. It's gonna travel like wildfire.
Now, unless people are downloading it more than once per person.
Let's be honest. Our audience is never gonna go watch us anyway.
They better.
Probably not even listening to us right now.
I'm gonna come to their house and kick the shit out of them if they don't watch this movie.
Yeah, guys.
You got a week. I'll be watching.
Okay, so what would the sequel be to this movie?
I don't know. I don't think we need a sequel.
Weekend at Domhnall's. Donald's. I'm gonna always say his name wrong. Domhnall.
Domhnall.
Domhnall. Oh, Domhnall.
I hope you meet him one day. And you call him Donald or something.
Like, Domhnall, and his father's gonna come out and just be like, give me an angry look and punch me in the face.
With that Mad Eye Moody eyeball.
Yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen.
You give me an idea for a sequel. I got nothing.
I mean, who's directing?
Same person.
James Cameron.
Oh, jeez. Well, he's got a good track record with sequels.
It's gonna be called About Times. Make it plural,
and he'll become a math genius. He'll know his multiplication tables all the way into like the tens of thousands.
And one of their children is gonna be the leader of the rebellion against the robot army. And they just have to go back in time.
Yeah.
To undo.
That would be funny.
Birth of the child.
It starts in this post-apocalyptic, a robot apocalypse, but then the dad goes like, actually, let me just go back in time and kind of like try to fix a few things. And he brings the whole family with, and they're like, what the fuck? We're in an English romantic comedy? What happened to the robot apocalypse? How did we get there from here?
Let's do that. I like that. That's a good idea. Oh my god. Yeah. On that note, I mean, I don't think I can even top that. So
great. That's the best idea I've had in years.
Yeah.
I stumped you.
British comedies. What was the last one? This might be the last British film that I can remember seeing, because I think Attack the Block was before this. Yeah, it was definitely before this.
Last one I saw, the Edgar Wright movie with the drinkers and the robot aliens.
See, all these movies, they came out like
around
that.
the same
Even
time.
that's like over a year old.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, The World's
2
End.
years.
That's what it's called.
World's End. Like,
That's
I
the
feel
last one
like
I
we
saw.
should be seeing more films coming out of the UK.
Edgar Wright, get with it.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Let's see some hustle out there.
I don't know that we can't really count episode 7.
I mean, it was shot in England partially on the stages.
By an American director.
There were some Brits on the cast.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Man.
Well,
All right. Well, I would highly recommend this movie.
were you surprised?
Very surprised. It took a turn at some point. I mean,
Took a turn at what? To the better or the worse?
to the better. Like, I thought the time traveling was going to be a little more rote, a little more routine.
Mm-hmm.
Typical.
Right.
Generic. But it's not. It is not a generic movie.
It's not generic, and it's genericness.
I mean, it feels like it's made by the same person who did Love Actually and 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah.
It has the same texture to it, but it's not like a time travel movie I've seen before.
Right.
And I've seen a few.
It's just kind of a happy-go-lucky movie from beginning to end, and you feel pretty good.
And a little
Watching
sad.
it. Yeah, I mean, you kind of... Yeah, there's like the little heartstring pulling here and there. Like about the sister Kit Kat. You know, she's kind of... You kind of like... You feel bad for this girl because she's so happy-go-lucky, but she's having the... You're seeing her struggle through life and always meeting the wrong guys. And
she doesn't get to cheat with time travel.
Right, she doesn't get to cheat, but, you know, she seems to have the most struggles, but you kind of want her to do well, but... And so do they.
Yeah. I think the Nerdist Podcast's end slogan, enjoy your burrito, meaning enjoy the moment. Don't worry about the past or the future.
Very, very well.
That is the message of the movie. Enjoy your burrito. He can travel to any point in his life with some consequences if he wants to have different children when he wakes up the next day. But he can do that. And the lesson of the movie is, don't worry about it. The past is the past, and the future has yet to be formed. So worry about today and enjoy it and recognize it for the miracle that it is.
So you think when they're in their 40s and they're divorced, you think he's going to regret not being able to sleep with Margot Robbie? Or you think he's just going to hate his children because they're going to grow up and be a bunch of douchebags?
Yeah, once they hit 13, it's going to be like, oh, those little
He's like, screw this. Peace. And then he's going right back to that moment.
I'm going
That's
back
the sequel,
to the Wolf
really.
of Wall Street chick.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and screw Margot Robbie in that hotel.
Who knows what his life could have turned out like?
He could have ended up married to her.
It could be even better than what it is in this movie. It could be even better. He'll never know because now he's got a stupid kid.
He could become a redheaded president with a hot blonde wife.
Oh, God.
With a whole slew of blonde children. I mean, that would never happen. But
That seems a little too unrealistic.
that's a little far-fetched.
Oh,
Anyway,
God, we're all going to die.
highly recommended. Watch the fucking movie.
Just watch it.
Why don't you fucking listen to us?
Turn the podcast off and watch the movie.
I hear you listening to us.
After you watch Runaway.
Yeah, right. Watch Runaway.
And then do this
And then
one.
if you've lived long enough to see this, watch this too.
How'd they live long enough?
Oh my God. I'm going to have to go back in time and fix that.
With the magic of editing. Okay, bye.